comes crashing down and it hurts inside. You gotta be a fan, you don't have to hide. Well, you hurt my friends and you hurt my pride, but with the 12th man, we can't let it slide. Town are owned by Americans. Time for corn dogs in the Kilmer Bank. Town are owned by Americans. Hope they're alright. Hope they're not shy.
Hello there, it's Dean Oil, playing my guitar. The new owners gave me this after I wrote off 40 million bastard quid. Now. Oh well, hopefully we won't end up in League One. See ya!
Well, you hurt my friends and you hurt my pride, but with a 12th man, we can't let it slide. Town are owned by Americans, so let's get a coach better than Fotheringham. Town are owned by Americans. I hope they're alright, hope they're not shy. Town are owned by Americans, so when we play Brum, pronounce it Birmingham. Town are owned by Americans.
You know something, brothers. Welcome to episode 170 of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. Guys, what's happening? Town go back-to-back for the first time in 2023 as a crazy 20 minutes has blitzed Middlesbrough. Town's new owners revealed himself, and DAZN announced an intention to stream EFL games ending the Saturday 3 p.m. blackout. There's lots to talk about tonight, and with me, Matt Hackshaw, Jim Duggan, it's the ultimate warrior, Jonny Gillespie, the Ginger Ogre, Dan Porritt, and Hornswoggle Senior, a.k.a. Town Stopper, Phil Senior. Are you okay, guys?
Very good, you.
Not bad.
Good, thank
See,
you.
pause. I didn't even need to change your name for a decent wrestling intro there, did I?
I already prepared, mate. I saw the future.
Yeah. This episode, as always, is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Use our code of AHTTC10 for 10% off all online orders. And obviously, it's getting nicer outside. The sun's here longer. It's warmer outside. Get yourself down to the beer gardens there and have a sit outside. It's a nice little place for a good brewski. Huddersfield Town 4, Middlesbrough 2. Who saw this coming, lads? I've said this for over 25 years now. I fucking love Neil Warnock. I do. I love the guy. The first half, we'll just talk about little incidents in the first half. Koroma had that shot cleared off the line, didn't he, to maybe put us one up. What I loved about this pause was there's a nice ball into the box by Romani Edmonds-Green playing midfield, and the man around the back post is Mikael Helik, who takes an absolutely glorious touch and lays it back for Josh Koroma, who has the shot cleared off the line. Centre-backs playing football under Neil Warnock. What a time, eh?
Unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable. I think, to be fair, that was probably the only reasonable thing that happened in that first half for us. Yeah, we were pretty slow off the mark, weren't we? And it, obviously 1-0 to them at half time. I think most of us will have been sat there thinking, more to come second half. But yeah, that it was a nice little move, that. And if that goes in at 1-0, it's a totally different game all over. But yeah, like you said, Michael Helik up there, you wouldn't expect him to be sort of playing those sorts of balls and being able to do that. But he's been class all season, as Helik, to be fair. So
Also, your dog's you have both. Your dog's on one of it, isn't it?
Is that picking it up? Let me put it on mute and then you can't hear him. So.
No worries. Paul's dog wants to get involved, who to be a terrier and all that. Johnny, Middlesbrough looked decent, didn't they, first half? I thought, I was chatting to Dave Hartrick a little bit throughout the game, and he was just sort of saying how good Middlesbrough were and how decent they looked. And I know we've won the game, but they look a decent side, don't they? And you can see why everybody's tipping them for an assault on the top two. Never mind playoffs.
Yeah, they were. I think Middlesbrough looked good, looked sharp, but I think we didn't do too much wrong either in that first time. I thought we looked decent as well. We kept them at bay, but it was a little bit of quality. How quick that goal came just showed. Like Ramsey put it through, bit of quality, good pass. He beats two men really quickly. Kind of bit of Premier League quality there. I know he's I don't know if he's on loan from Aston Villa or signed from Aston Villa, one of the two.
Yeah.
But they had control. They were quite comfortable knocking it around in our final third, or just in front of our final third of the midfielders. But Howson, I had to actually Google how old Howson was, because I couldn't quite work out how he's still playing at that level when he kind of was doing some of the stuff that he's doing. But yeah, they're a good team. If you look at their squad on paper, it is decent. I kind of had them up there towards at the start of the season. It was quite surprising that they struggled under Wilder, and not surprised to see where they are now. So yeah, we saw that quality. We saw why I think they've won the last 3 away games before Town. They were chasing down Sheffield United and kind of were the form team in division. So we saw what we expected to see, really, I thought, in that first half. But I did think we dealt with it relatively well, to be honest, as well.
And there's probably not that much to say, is there, other than that, the first half, the goal that they scored by Can You Feel the Force? But straight from the kickoff, second half, I don't know what Neil Warnock said to them at half time, Phil, but Josh Ruffles is probably not being the most popular player, shall we say, on the podcast in the stands in the last 18 months. Maybe he got a couple of breaks on the goal, but I just loved how positive he was in that, because he's forced that goal, really. It's a great finish, and Josh Ruffles does not score crap goals, does he? But he's forced the situation by being positive, and that wasn't happening a month ago, was it, Phil?
I had a bit of a blinder because our young lad were playing football Saturday, and I got back around about 4 o'clock, and I put the TV on, and it was like bang, bang, bang. So great for me to watch. Obviously missing the first half sounded like a good trick. But he was just so positive getting forward. He got a couple of lucky little breaks on the way in, but he took his goal really well. And you can see like the little bit of confidence kind of coming back into the group. And you mentioned it, obviously before, but like it's the Warnock effect. And he's obviously getting these players, ticking away from him. And you could see, I mean, you'll probably go on to talk about it in a bit, but you could see the togetherness on the pitch and the will to try and defend as a team and as a unit. And I just thought it was great. But yeah, Ruffles, it was nice to see him getting forward and having a crack at goal. And he's not going to be everyone's favourite. We do have his favourites. There's certain players that we're drawn to. And I don't think he had a perfect game, but in the final third, that's where it counts. And like I say, he put a couple of good balls into box at points of the game, and what a great finish. It was fantastic.
It didn't stop there, did it, Pause? There's it's straight away almost, wasn't it? Again, Danny Ward's ended the day, hasn't he, with a couple of nice assists there, and he's come in because Wagon's injured and he's struggled with injury himself. But look at the impact Danny Ward's had up front. He's probably not going to get the plaudits, is he, for that game, because Matty Pearson's grabbed a couple of goals and Josh Koroma's scored an outstanding goal here. But it's really made by Hoggy, just really good interception by Jonathan Hogg, who's had a good month as well, and he's played the ball to Danny Ward, and Danny Ward's come in field and played it across, and and Danny Ward's also setting up Matty Pearson a bit later on as well. But it's a good ball, and we need to get the conch out, don't we, and get back the old Josh Koroma fan club and roll it back in. But honestly, the way he's done this, you can see the goal from behind the goal. Josh Koroma uses the centre back, and it's a real skill, isn't it, where you use the centre back and you use it to curl the ball around the centre back into the corner. It's a tried and trusted technique that all the decent players do. It's outstanding, really, just how he sees the centre back and he just uses him just to manoeuvre the ball around into the bottom corner. Zach Steffen's got no chance. It's an outstanding goal, isn't it, Pause? And to say how bad this season's been, we've actually scored quite a lot of decent goals this year. It's going to be quite good when we do the goal of the year contender, but this one's got to be right up there, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I must admit, I thought, Koroma's one of those. He kind of comes in and out of games, doesn't he? He can have really quiet periods. And I thought first half, I was saying at half time to one of the lads who I sit with that he's probably one of the most creative players, yet we don't really use him a right lot. We seem to go a lot down the right-hand side. And I was thinking yesterday, get it across to Koroma, get it to him as many times as we can, because he's got that in his locker, hasn't he, to cut inside and curl one in. And maybe that were a little bit of a change of tact at half-time by Warnock, because we did seem to go down the left a little bit more. And as you say, that he's a little bit like Carl and Grant in it. They were both very similar players, of both like to sort of attack that sort of space just inside either the fullback or the centre half, depending on who's marking them, and sort of cut in and curl it across. And it's probably one of those goals. I think, in weeks gone by and months gone by, I kind of compared Karlan Grant to Thierry Henry in the way that he scores that type of goal. And Koroma is very
justifying
similar.
Is that pause, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of sort of the drop of the shoulder, cut inside, as you say, use the defender to shield the shot and curl it around. And Phil, I'm sure as a keeper, sometimes you kind of know those shots are coming, but there's not much you can do about it, because if you anticipate too much and take a step across to that far corner, then players are good enough to bend it near post. So setting your angles up there, you're not certain, are you? And like I say, it's coming, but you can't really do much about it.
This is one of my big bugbears with Koroma, because he's got that in his locker. But before the game, you'll have a report on all these different players, and you know for a fact that that's what he wants to do all the time. And one of my biggest issues with him is he's got electrifying pace. He's got a good left foot. And just to mix it up a little bit sometimes, to hit the byline and cut a few back, because it becomes really obvious what he's doing. But that is trademark Koroma, and it was a great finish. But I think the biggest thing with that finish is he took it so quick. It wasn't a out of the foot, let's set myself up, let's whip it. It was literally a push, whip, and it didn't go in that quick. But that must have taken the keeper kind of off guard, because it didn't go right in the corner, did it? It wasn't right in the bottom corner. But the speed that he did it, but that's just him with full of confidence. He ran at his defender, he drew him in, you could see it, touch, bang. That's just someone who's full of confidence. And didn't he work hard during the game as well?
It's been great, hasn't he? And what I loved about that goal, Jonny, as well, was Josh Koroma puts it in and he runs to the corner flag, and there's two people jump in and celebrate with him, David Kasumu and Tyree Simpson, who are on the bench as well. And what Phil said earlier about togetherness and people sort of pulling in the same direction now. We've got videos circulating online about QPR, how QPR, the fans are having to go at the players, and the players and the fans are having to go at each other. And then you see Huddersfield Town, you see substitutes who haven't been picked as excited as the players on the field, and we've scored a goal and the fans are on board and everything. And all of a sudden you feel like Huddersfield are finally moving in the right direction, don't you? And everybody's pushing now. And it was just brilliant to see stuff like that.
Yeah, it's it's momentum, isn't it? That's the key. That's the key thing that Huddersfield have got at the moment. And it's when you hit the running, which we are. Well, it depends when you start running. I'd say we're in it now. If not, we're about to start it. But that's what you want. Going for promotion, going to stay up. You need momentum. And I would, if I was QPR now, I'd happily trade those 3 points they've got on us for the momentum that we've got in our squad, the positivity, everyone pointing in the same direction. Like Phil said, the Warnock factor, what he brings to that, the mentality, it makes it simple. I mean, like we said right at the beginning of the Warnock era, before he kind of came in, what do we want? We want someone who could just bring that. It's not about the minutiae tactics. Warnock is doing that, and we can see that from what he's done on the pitch with where Reg has played and etc. But I'm not saying he's not got that, he has, but it's more than that when he brings out. It's that togetherness. You can see it. You can see it with where the players celebrate when they score. You can see it at the end of the game. There's that togetherness there, and he's putting confidence into players, and they're doing things that they weren't doing. Just going back to that Koroma chance, the start of the season, before he effectively got bombed out, there was a few chances in games where he'd take an extra touch and he'd just shoot against a defender, and it's like, the space isn't there. Why is he shooting? Compared to this situation where, like Phil said, it's touch, early shot. An early shot, you always want players to shoot early because it creates that chance, creates that uncertainty. So that's the difference. And yeah, in regards to kind of where we are against opponents now, you'd feel Huddersfield. They'll feel Huddersfield. They'll look at us as a real threat. And yeah, it's great to see. It's great to see that spirit. Whatever happens, we're giving it a go. And I think that's something that's really key. And the fans can get on board with that. Something the fans can buy into now.
It's really easy, isn't it? Jumping on bandwagon, we've beat Middlesbrough 4-2 and etc. It's dead easy to do that and get carried away with it. But I think, like you've just said there, nail on the head, it's the will and the effort and the kind of togetherness of the group. That's what you want to see, like irrelevant to the result. Because I know for a fact Warnock won't be bullying those boys up when they're in the change rooms, and we're making sure that they're ready for the next game, and they won't be letting themselves run away with it, because you can't do it at this stage, because your next result will be a 1-0 loss, and you don't want to be up and down. You need to just stay there, and we've got the perfect man, haven't we?
Don't get too high when you win and don't get too low when you lose. Who said that? Who said that? Before we go into like Matty Pearson going crazy, just on the back of that, us whoppers on this podcast before the Norwich game, there was a certain bald whopper that comes on this podcast who we love very much, and happy birthday to Mr. Kosmala for the other day. He couldn't see another win this season before the Norwich game, could he? And absolutely none of us on here or in the stands thought we'd get 7 points out of 9 from Norwich, Millwall and Middlesbrough. It's outstanding. It genuinely is outstanding, especially after, we've been absolutely piped, haven't we? 4-0 by Burnley and Coventry, and everyone had written us off. I think we'd written us off. There was still the Warnock factor, wasn't there? But we were pretty much resigned. And all of a sudden, 7 points from 9, and look at us. There's 4 of us on the podcast wanting to get going and get raring, and it's brilliant, isn't it? It's great to see, and when watching the goals back, the highlights, the sound when the ball hits the net, the roar of the crowd, it's incredible. And the reaction of Matty Pearson, Phil, your old mate, Matty Pearson, where's he come from on those 2 goals? Where has he come from? The corner comes over. Jack Redoni has been, I want to talk about a couple of players in a bit who have really sort of come to the fore in the last month, but Jack Redoni is one of them. I'm quite critical, I think, of Jack Redoni sometimes because I can see the potential there, and it's just the decision-making which lets him down sometimes, but he's worked so hard over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and he's been such an important player. And he puts the corner in, and Matty Pearson's wrestling with Tommy Smith, isn't he? And Tommy Smith goes down, and Matty Pearson scores.
If you had to choreograph a goal for Matty Pearson, that would 100% be it. He's landed on the floor with someone like scrapping, and then he gets up, all in like a little bit of a daze, and then a nasty little knee. I don't know what he would do with it, whether they were helping it on or what, I don't know. It just sums him up, absolutely sums him up. But he does sum up that kind of team now. Because, like you said, the celebration is full of passion. That's the kind of player you want in your team, 100%. And as soon as he scored, my little lad said to me, "See, told you we're good enough, Dad." He said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, I think my words were Matty." And I'm pleased for him because I don't think he's had a great return to the team. I think he's found it hard. Probably playing a little bit out of position and not in the back four that he's used to. And it does take a little bit of time to get back into it. But when Matty's full of confidence, he's a difficult person to play against. He really is, because he's full of beans. And like I say, there's no easy ride playing up against Matty when he's full of confidence. And hopefully this will give him a little bit more again. But how's he scoring?
I don't know. But when it's going for you, it's going for you. Because that second goal he scores, he hits it. I think it's his left foot, isn't it? And the keeper throws his foot at that. And as a keeper, Phil, you know that can go anywhere, can't it? And it nestles in the other bottom corner, and that's when you can tell it's your day, can't you? Because Matty Pearson's put his foot on that. The keeper's tried to kick it away, and it's ended in the bottom corner. And Matty Pearson's running around celebrating with this big grin on his face. And amazing 20 minutes. Amazing 20 minutes.
Things like that, though, we deserve a little bit of luck because we haven't had much luck this season as well. We could talk about performances, but we have been a little bit unlucky for some of the goals, balls dropping to other teams, etc. Not for us, but yeah, I mean, when you watch on the TV, I wasn't sure if it were going to hit the post, and he knew because he were running away before it even got it back in net. So fair play, he got himself in the right position and made contact, put a bit of contact on the ball, and keepers have got no chance really there. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Stand up or gamble. So.
Is it clean? Is it really clean?
Yeah.
I'm just looking. I think you're doing old Matty Pearson a bit of a disservice. He's third top scorer with an 80% shot accuracy rating at the moment. So, come on, let's lay off him a little bit.
What a season. What a season. He's behind own goal, isn't he, which is our second top scorer.
I think own goal is up there, yeah.
Oh, dear. But Middlesbrough, obviously, a decent side, as we've said, and Chuba Akpom gets them back. You can see why he's got 25 goals. He's taken that header brilliantly, hasn't he? He's buried that. It's a great header. But just before that, the goal line technology was switched on this time, and I've got no idea. They hit the post and it rolled across, and Vaslik's got no idea. He's kind of got his leg in an unnatural position, hasn't he? And it's just hit him on the leg to stop it from going in. And little things like that going for us, which haven't gone for us for a long time. And it's good to finally see the little bits of luck changing. But Phil, there's no such thing really as luck, is there? In some respects, you've got to make it, haven't you? You've got to be positive, and you've got to sort of put yourself and your own impression on games, because you can't sort of sit back and defend and then a deflection goes in from the 20th shot and then claim you're unlucky, can you? You've got to put yourself out there. You've got to make things happen sometimes, don't you? And
well,
that's what we're doing now.
Yeah, that's it. And like I said, defensively we look really organised and full of belief. And going forwards, it's a little bit more. I know obviously we didn't have much possession in the game. But there's people still making those forward runs and supporting the runners who are making the forward runs. So, it's all about, like you say, it's making your own look. And I think defensively we are doing. I think they're putting the bodies on the line. Hellick's been absolutely tremendous.
Awesome. Yeah.
He's been absolutely brilliant. And I just think, if that's your base and whatever comes after that, if we can get a little bit of confidence from these wide players and these strikers, etc., and Radoni's, he's working hard and looking good, then you never know, do you? And we're not getting too carried away, like you mentioned before. It was doom and gloom. I couldn't see a win at all. It were horrendous. Warnock effect or whatever. It was just, you can't not think, we're not going to get another win, because it looked like we weren't. But something's changed. Like Posy said there, there's the confidence, there's the belief, back in the players. So yeah, like I say, you've got to make your own look.
Jonny, talk about sort of people that have stepped forward the last month. Roman Edmonds-Green is one of them, playing as a deep line midfielder, isn't he? The regista, as we call him. Him and Hogg, almost creating a wall, don't they, in front of that back four. Josh Koroma has really come forward the last month. He's worked really hard. Jack Radoni. Who are you picking maybe as you sort of surprise over the last month or so? Even Vatslik's got fitter, hasn't he, and made some important contributions. There's so many stepping foot. Josh Ruffles. There's so many sort of stepping up now, isn't there? And it's good. Ben Jackson. You can keep going, can't you? And that's just such a good thing, isn't it?
You can keep going. I think it's like what Phil was saying before. You can keep going because, let's be honest, it was so shocking previously. So they've all had to have a look at themselves. And like we've said quite a few times, it does split opinion. And it's split opinion across the fan base, like what the quality of the squad is versus where it should be in the league. And I know you and I might have kind of come down a little bit more on the side of there is quality in there, and it's probably lack of confidence. And I think that is what we're seeing now. You've had players who have had a really difficult year, and like some of them you've picked out there with Roman Edmonds-Green and Koroma, who've not found the place in Huddersfield, have gone out on loan, not for positive reasons. They've then not found a place in the loan club and come back. So to be able to kind of even pick yourself up at that point mentally, it deserves a lot of credit. Not just do a bit part in a team, but actually then come into a squad where they know it's difficult, because I'm not saying fans have got on the back, because they haven't, but they'll understand what the fans will be thinking. And they've taken opportunity, and they've done more than just take opportunity. They've really stepped up, and we spoke highly of Koroma on the last pod after the Millwall game, and equally Roman Edmonds-Green as well after that game. And I think again they deserve credit for what they've done this game. I think Warnock's found a real good position there, because I've always fancied Roman Edmonds-Green coming through, and I was a bit disappointed to see it didn't really happen at the start of this season for him. Through his own doing, the quality wasn't there, because he looks a modern centre back in the fact that he's got a bit about him to play centre back, but also he can play football as well. He's clearly got the ability to be a ball player, and we saw that in what we talked about right at the start with a little ball across the Hellick. So I'm really pleased for him. I'm really pleased for players of that age as well, that they've I thought Koroma's into was fascinating midweek, where he kind of said he came into the club as a boy, and he's now a man. And you got to remember these lads, I mean, they're 22, 23, 24, and I'm just happy that they've taken opportunity that's been given to them. I mean, they're probably lucky that the club's been in the way it has been, through lack of recruitment and injuries and poor performance. They've had that chance, but it's good because we've seen the players that they are, and whether they stay next year or not, I'm glad that they've taken opportunity, and I mean, they're really, really fighting. And I think, yeah, we can praise Warnock as well for that, but long may it continue, because the way they're playing, you kind of sat there thinking, we'd like them to be Huddersfield, not next year. I know they might well be playing for the contract, and that's fair enough. I don't think you can have a go at players for doing that, but there might be a few people in the boardroom, whoever's in the boardroom nowadays, thinking actually we'd quite like to maybe look to keep hold of one or two of these players. So yeah, I think they're a credit to themselves, and hopefully, if this is the last
credit to the family,
we see him, credit to the family. But yeah, if it is last games we see him, then fair enough. But let's hope they continue to do it to the end of the season.
Go on, pause. Give us a. You love a good defender, don't you? I mean, Tom Lees and Hellicat for me have been pretty decent all season. I know you can kind of point to little bits and pieces here and there where they've maybe not done well, but they've been kind of constants. Who are you sort of thinking has really stepped up in the last sort of month or so?
I think Hellick, as you say, has been class all season, hasn't he? He's kind of been the constant as well.
It's the player of the year, surely, isn't it? Head and shoulders for me. Sure.
Yeah, you'd expect.
Oh, Lees has been good as well. But...
Yeah, I think they've both been decent. I just think Hellick stands out that little bit more. He seems to command things a little bit better than Tom Lees from a defensive point of view. And it's easy to forget about defenders when you're not doing well in it, because obviously you tend to lose more. You concede a lot and you're losing more. So your instant thought isn't, well, the defender's playing really well, because you look at goals conceded and there's a lot of them. So you think, well, obviously defense are playing poor. But I think without Hellick, it'd be a hell of a lot more than what we've let in. He's really commanding. He's a great signing. It did take a while to sort of get up and running, but ever since he has, I think if you took him out, you would notice it a lot more than if you took out Lees and obviously now Matty Pearson. Now he's back. So for me, it'd have to be Hellick.
Oh, Phil, what about you? You're going to throw something in for Vatslik?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. It's a difficult one, really. I think I'm pleased for Koroma, to be honest. I think he's like I say, it looked like he were lacking in confidence, and he's had to spend a lot of time on the bench waiting for his opportunity. And I saw the interview as well, Jonny. I thought it was really good. And you do forget how young these kids are, and they are only young. I'm thinking back to when I was 21 and playing for Town. You're so inexperienced. So much more to learn, and you don't learn your game until you're another 4 or 5 years down the line. So I'm pleased for him, and like I say, Romani Evans-Green, I think he's done well in there. But I like Rudoni. Me, there's just something about him. I just think he's a grafter. He's honest. He's some of his quality hasn't quite been there. His final balls, etc. But I think there's a lot more to come from him. I really do. I think he works tirelessly. A lot of that unseen kind of running that he does. So yeah, there's a few that they've turned it around. They've turned around the corner, haven't they? And I'm pretty pleased for them. So and you can put Ruffles in there as well, can't you? He's had a lot of stick from all of us, really. I don't think he's your number one choice for left back, but I think it's that natural selection of a left-sided player, and he looks a little bit more comfortable in terms of that lineup of the back four. So yeah, there's a few.
Yeah, well done, lads. Keep it up, and we absolutely love Neil Warnock, don't we, on this podcast? So even if we go down, we still fucking love Neil Warnock. Let's keep it there. But right, guys. So I think that finishes the Middlesbrough performance, and this week's been an interesting week. So you guys can repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the pod of Andy Takes That Chance, and to the republic of which it stands, one nation under God, etc., etc. Kevin Nagle's put his head, hasn't he, above the parapet this week. I think the media was probably circling around this mystery buyer, and here he is. Kevin Nagle quickly popped his head up to say hello, and then quickly retreated, didn't he? Just sort of saying you've got to respect the process, etc. And once it's complete, I think he will reappear again. Which is interesting, but I think a lot of people have questions. A lot of fans have questions. There's some excitement, isn't there? Some trepidation. I think there's probably quite a lot that we need to sort of find out about him. For example, who is Kevin Nagle? What wealth does he have? What's his motivation for coming to the UK? His track record in sport. Why has Dean Hall picked him or done the deal with him when there were other parties available? Will his investment be accompanied by a consortium, as mentioned by the Daily Mail, Matt Hughes' Daily Mail? Or if so, what does that entail? What does it mean? Who's involved? How will the deal be structured or funded? Will he load the club with debt? Will he use his own money, etc.? There are questions there. What will happen with the stadium is a really key issue. Where is the share in the stadium? Will it be put in a trust? Will it be sold to the Americans? What will the top to bottom approach be on the footballing side? Will he go from Moneyball, youth development, appoint a director of football, go that way, the traditional English side? And how's he going to get sort of the fans back on board if the club's relegated? It's going to be interesting, isn't it? He's got is hands full, if you like. So it's going to be an interesting ride, and we don't know an awful lot about him, do we? So if he wants to come on the podcast and introduce himself and have a chat with us, that would be fantastic. We'd be all up for that. He looks like he's got a decent sense of humor, judging by some of the tweets he's been liking in response to him taking over and following some Town fans. He does seem to have a good sense of humor, and I've watched 1 or 2 YouTube videos and interviews with him as well, and he's an interesting character. I think we'll certainly enjoy Kevin Nagel. In the meantime, we've now found ourselves a sister club as well, haven't we, to support in the USA. Jonny's already been looking at the results of Sacramento Republic. I looked at the shirts online just to have a look at them, see if they're any good, etc. So what we did was, to learn about Kevin Nagel, Brady, who tends to do all the work around here these days, asked Sharon Anderson from the State of the Republic podcast for the lowdown on our new mustachioed friend, and here's what she had to say.
Hello there, this is Sharon Anderson, and you've asked me a question of what has Kevin Nagel been like as an owner for Sacramento Republic and his relationship with the fans. Well, here's the deal. Kevin Nagel is a philanthropist at heart, and I know he has a really big heart and a super soft spot for everything going on in the Sacramento region. He owns several properties here and there throughout the region, and truly enjoys coming to all the Sacramento Republic matches. His favorite thing to do is anything benevolent with respect to the community. So here's the deal. He does so much work and has hired such good people to get involved with the community that it does not go unnoticed. If it weren't for him making sure that we had the right people in place, we wouldn't have oodles of community involvement. We've refurbished, not me, but the Sac Republic front office has been part and participle to refurbishing old basketball and tennis courts so that they are now futsal courts, and they're freshly painted, and they're also in areas where they're needed the most. His relationship with the fans is a wee bit different because we don't always get a chance to interact with him, but when he is ever at one of the big public events, he's more than gracious, as I have found. I actually sit sometimes in a section where his table is, and he's very cordial. He greets all of us with warmth and with respect, and he'll even share his thoughts about things. So how are we reacting to the news of Kevin Nagel's interest in buying Huddersfield Town? Well, it's mixed, of course, because anytime you hear of, and I believe he's a billionaire, but it might not be true, but whatever. Anytime you hear that the majority owner and, the CEO of Sac Republic is planning to take investments elsewhere, he's been doing that sort of investment, not necessarily with teams, but with ventures all his life. So for me, particularly, it's kind of a nice, it's kind of a welcome thing. We just hope it's not going to be like a Rexford experiment, or Wrexham, edit. But, at the end of the day, if it provides for a better platform for either Sac Republic or for Huddersfield Town, I think it's kind of cool. We just want to make sure that he has agreed, and he has promised that his interest in Sac Republic and taking us to a level or building a stadium in the rail yards, that won't diminish. Actually, I think the partnerships always seem to build on each other. And right now, soccer is just building and building. Let's face it, 2026, we're going to be hosting the World Cup, the Men's World Cup here in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And it makes sense that, we have deeper relationships everywhere. Like I said, though, Sacramento fans it's a little bit mixed. So we know you've seen some criticism for Nagel and his ability to turn Sacramento Republic into an MLS team. So some of the criticisms would be that whoever he had put in place to make sure that any investor, otherwise known as Ron Burkle, had signed on the dotted line, because there was no contract in place that forced Burkle to stay with the investment. When Burkle walked, he just walked. There was no contract. There was just all promises and, all of that. So I don't fault Kevin Nagel. I would say that that's actually the people who weren't able to get Burkle to sign on the dotted line. However, let's face it, during that whole time period, a lot of things were in flux. COVID hit. Just a lot of different things kind of happened at that time period, and I can understand all the reasoning and everything that goes behind it. However, that being said, we don't know if we're getting any help from MLS, the league itself, to find additional investors. Let's face it, there are billionaires all over the place, and somebody out there, I don't care who, a consortium, should be interested in Sac Republic as an MLS team, because MLS actually does want us, and I think it would be a welcome addition to the West Coast, and it would be a welcome addition to the conference. We would be kind of like, some of the I don't know. It would be really awesome to see us go forward versus, well, in addition to San Diego or Las Vegas or whomever else is lined up. We actually have really decent weather for the most part. If you think about Las Vegas, unless it's an indoor stadium, or if you think of Phoenix, unless those are indoor stadiums, it's nasty playing in the heat of the summer there. At least if we had something by the time the evening rolls around in Sacramento, our evenings are beautiful. They're pleasant. The Delta breeze kicks in because we live near the Sacramento River Delta, and it's just fabulous. Our evenings are spectacular, and a lot of people brag about being able to sit out until midnight, and not be bothered by the heat or anything like that. So some of the criticisms might be fair based on, not getting an investor to sign on the dotted line a few years ago and having that walk. But at the end of the day, we just have to, keep working. So as far as my experience as a Republic fan, what would you guys expect from Nagel? Oh my goodness, you guys can expect somebody who is actually incredibly interested in building a squad, and that's what he's done for us. He has released funding. I mean, we have some really good people in place. We have Todd Donovan, Coach Briggs, and they've really pitched. And he's also has a few consultants on the side. I won't name names. But they've been able to bring in really good quality players, really good quality staff. It's like that's what Kevin will do. He now understands the sport. He understood sports in the past, and he really understands soccer and the need to build a good franchise. So I don't know if Huddersfield has fallen by the way of, oh goodness. I mean, I've read some of the critiques of Huddersfield Town that, the players could care less at this point, and looks like everybody's going through the motions. I think re-energization is something that Kevin has been able to provide with the coaching staff, with the fan base. They really have some good people in the front office that continue to unpack the story and get the fan base to really come along. And we also, our Tower Bridge Battalion had kind of a nice turnover recently, and they've gotten incredibly more involved, and they've been very good about meeting with the front office staff, with Todd Donovan and others, to convey messages to the fan base that normally wouldn't reach everybody. So, and the messaging is things, just common things, excitement things, events. We really have enjoyed that relationship growing better. And I don't know, I think you guys can expect something incredibly different. Transparency is one of the things that recently has bloomed more. I think the fans have asked for more communication. They've asked for different things, and we've seen the club respond. The club has sent out surveys and questionnaires and rate the game, rate your experience at the match. What would you like to see different? Whatever people are responding with, they're actually taking to heart and doing certain things. When I say they, I say the club. So I think all of that has really built a much more cohesive front. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And we have the Sac Republic has their own podcast called The Breakaway, and that's been super valuable. Things have been very different in the last couple of years and built a lot more excitement. And let's face it, the players love playing in front of this fan base. It's not as big as Premier League teams, but it's definitely big for the area, and it's big for USL, and it's actually decent size for MLS. So, is there anything else Huddersfield Town fans should know about Nagel? He's a private man. I think he's a bit of an introvert, but he just loves community so much that if any of the fans and front office folks start collaborating on things that are meaningful for the region, like, helping food banks, helping medical community, or not the medical community, but, the give back, anything that gives back to community, if the fans align with whomever Nagel puts in place, if he does, in fact, buy the team, it's going to have a whole different feel. You'll have a feeling of investment. And, he's, like I said, he's a bit of a shy guy, a little more so, but he does like a good party. He loves a good game. It's just, if you ask for something, you may get it. It's very different. So just keep an open mind and definitely keep the communications open, I would say, and demand that your front office kind of respond and keeps communications open. And that if you have a supporters group or a supporters union like what we do, make sure that they stay invested with the front office and, go hand in hand, and away you go. It's going to be a fun ride. Everybody here is waiting to see exactly what happens. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But we're kind of excited to see exactly what does happen. So wishing you all luck. I see you got a point over the weekend. Excellent. Or your point out of relegation. I think you may have won. But if you did, congratulations. I haven't watched the results lately. Been too focused on doing some other things and getting my head wrapped around the fact that we have a match tonight in Sacramento. Okay. Take care. And thank you for the questions. Bye-bye now.
Right, guys. So I've mentioned little bits, and Sharon's had her word there. Thanks to Sharon for providing us with that. He seems to be quite community based in a lot of what he does. He seems to be. I watched the video. Pause. I think you've seen the video, haven't you? Where with the futsal, with Sacramento, they've introduced all the futsal pitches, haven't they, across Sacramento and California. He seems to be very community focused, and I can kind of see little bits of why Dean Hoyle would have picked him now, maybe. Do you know, with how sort of benevolent he is to the community. You look, when you think of Dean Hoyle, you think of bike rides, you think of feeding hungry kids at breakfast time, and all these things which make you proud, to be honest, as a Huddersfield Town fan, that the club does things in the community. And he's gone and picked somebody from America who does a similar sort of thing over there. So it's going to be important to see how he engages, isn't it? And to me, I know some people turn up, pause, don't they, and just sort of say, football for me is 3 o'clock till 4:45. Anything else, I'm not interested. But people like us, we're quite interested in stuff like this, and we quite like our football club to do things, don't we, inside its postcode area.
Yeah, I think, football is such a big thing these days. It is it's becoming a hell of a lot more than just your Saturday, 3 till 5 kind of thing. Getting Johnny's cold in. There's a lot going on with football clubs these days, and sports coverage in general. It's pretty much 24/7 in it. Whenever you pick your phone up, whenever you turn a TV program on, there's you can find information about sport. The clubs kind of ram it down your throat with constant information coming out and stuff like that. And I think you kind of can't not get involved in the off the field stuff these days. You've got to pay a little bit of interest to it, if nothing else. And I agree with what you say there, Matt, about the community stuff. I think that's a major thing. It was Town Foundation game on Saturday. There were loads of kids there that had been invited down by the Town Foundation, free tickets for stuff like good behaviour at school, good attendance and stuff like that. And I think it's a really good initiative.
That's more like a punishment initially, does that? But...
Well, Saturday were a good one for them to come to, wasn't it? So,
Yeah,
some of them might be back. But I always think if you've got a stadium and there's 10,000 spare seats in there, get 5,000 filled by giving away tickets or incentives or however that may work. Just because if 1,000 of those people decide to come back, potentially there you've got 1,000 new fans through not a right lot of effort. If it comes in and kind of picks up and continues that sort of role that Dean, implemented with the foundation and, looks to expand that, then that can only benefit Huddersfield Town and Huddersfield in general. I'm not speaking from somebody who doesn't even live in Huddersfield, but if they can promote things in schools and try to get these fans hooked from an early age, it's only going to benefit us in the long run, isn't it? Because as they come home nagging, it's like those people with kids, they want to do something and you end up taking them, and then next thing it becomes a habit and you're forking over 500 quid a year for a season ticket kind of thing. And it's a really it's a marketing tool as well as a community project, and if they work hand in hand, then it benefits everybody.
Jonny, you must have questions about the ownership. You're a man who has his eye on the money, aren't you? So, what have you made of the announcement of Kevin Nagel? And I'm sure you've got questions yourself that you want to ask, given the opportunity.
Well, a lot of the ones you said at the onset, really, they're kind of the key ones, which I guess will come out in time. I quite like that. He's just kind of the statement he released, really. I think you see so many new owners or people floating around football clubs and don't have a real right to kind of say, well, they're not bought it, they're kind of just thinking about it, or like that at Sheffield United and Bassini and the guy who wanted to buy Derby before it ultimately all looked to be fake. People blow a lot of hot air around buying football clubs, so I don't mind him being a bit kind of matter of fact at this stage. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So, let's get the job done and then we can hear a bit more about what he wants to do. I find it interesting why Huddersfield. I think there's a lot of positives to buying Huddersfield, but then I'm a Huddersfield fan from Huddersfield. So I'm a little bit biased towards that. So I think it'll be interesting to understand his reasons for buying a football club. Football clubs in this country don't make money. So is it the fact he wants to kind of go on a bit of a journey with Huddersfield and put some money into it? So you'd hope. But yeah, just to understand a bit more around his rationale. I think the interview that we've heard ticks the boxes initially. Do you know what I mean? He's kind of, obviously he's community focused. He's quite sensible with what he looks to do. He wants to run the football club so it's going to be around in the next 10, 15, 20 years, which was a key parameter for me for any owner. I'm not interested in gambling the next 4 years and not having a football club. So I think he's clearly in that mindset. But yeah, like you say, it's just a little bit more about what his ambitions are. Why Huddersfield? What's he looking to do? Is he wanting to move into the UK? He's clearly got his fingers in a few pies. I had his fingers in a few pies across US sport, obviously Sacramento, but there's kind of bits and pieces around hockey teams that he's been part in basketball as well. So that potentially makes sense. We're available if he's kind of now wanting to make the move, and we're an available club in a reasonable price range. That might be why. But yeah, I think on the face of it, fair enough. He looks to seem a reasonable guy. I'm quite happy with what he said so far. A bit strange why it was kept under wraps. But who knows what the rationale again behind that was. But yeah, it's just like really it's the headline questions that everyone's thinking what you said at the beginning there, just to understand what his vision is. I also think it'd be quite interesting, and I don't think we'll necessarily get this, but the question you've asked there, which hadn't really crossed my mind, but why this guy from Dean's perspective as well, I think will be interesting. Whether that's worth a lot, possibly not. It's largely irrelevant, but I think that would be an interesting question to be able to ask as well. What he's seen in him, which there's a few things which touched on which kind of align to Dean's ideology of how to run a football club. It's more than just 3 o'clock. It is the community around it and the longevity of a football club. But yeah, I think like you say, we'll see what happens. So far, so good for me. But time will tell.
Certainly not an attention seeker, is he? Who's
No,
moving his wallet around?
Yeah, and that's what I mean, and that's a good thing because I'm not interested in that. So you could have someone make a massive statement. Yeah, we're going to be in the Premier League in 3 years. We've been blank checkbook. You watch this space, but I mean, how many times you see that work? Not often.
Hull, the guy at Hull. I know I speak to the guy who runs the Hull podcast, and he's absolutely effusive in his praise for the guy Ilikai, isn't it? But for me, I'd cringe at some of the stuff where he sort of, he's some of the stuff he does is great. The paid holidays for fans to Turkey and all that sort of stuff. But how he's talking about the Premier League and how they're going to go out and splash money here and there, and you just kind of want them just to. You want your owner to kind of like be more background noise than foreground noise, don't you? And it certainly ticks a box for my preference anyway. So far, does Kevin Nagel? Phil, any thoughts on Mr. Nagel?
No, not really. I don't really.
There's not a lot out there, is there?
No, I'm just a little bit gutted. Like, I liked having a fan that was a chairman. I don't like change. Obviously, we need change, etc. I don't. I just want us to be competitive. I just want us to be sensible and competitive. That's it. I love the community stuff. I think what Dean's done with the community is absolutely brilliant. We need to start. We need to get more fans into the ground. We need more younger fans. That's the basis of any club. You've got to get that younger generation. We've had that. We need to keep that going. I just want us to be competitive. And my only issue is that we don't know much about him. So instead of kind of like making any assumptions, it's kind of a wait and see thing. And that's quite unnerving because you don't know what you're going to get. How much money has he got? How often is he going to be? How hands-on is he going to be? Like you say, you've answered it all. Why is he doing it? What's he going to get out of it? Little Huddersfield, and you come from America, and do you know what I mean? It's a bit different when you've got your Dean Hoyles, who's a fan and passionate about improving your club, etc. But why is this geezer coming here and taking us over? And hopefully it'll be perfect. But I don't know. It's one of those wait and see things for me. But
I think that's definitely the sensible approach, though.
Yeah, I'm loving his tag.
It's a belter, isn't it? Proper Ron Burgundy, isn't it?
I mean, he might come over and he might shave it off, so we might not get it.
I think just picking up on the sort of maybe why Huddersfield. I know there's not much online about him. He's really not a public man, is it? From what you can see, if you just sort of Google him, there's very little that comes back. But I did read that he were, trying to get Sacramento into the MLS, which obviously costs a vast. It's about 500 million.
325 million. Yeah,
it's a lot of money in it to get in there, and I always have this. I might be doing him a disservice with this sort of theory, but I think Americans they come across as sort of quite vain people, and he's tried his luck to become like a name in America and football. So he's sort of, if I can get Huddersfield across, it's probably not going to cost me as much, and we can get them up to the Premier League, and then I can kind of be in charge of a top flight club, and that holds a good standing in sporting world and stuff like that. So there's a reason as to why, and then that's my thinking. And then if we get up, would he look to sell? The club would obviously be worth a hell of a lot more money, and he can make a lot of money out of it. But as you say, Phil, time will tell. It is a bit strange why a fella from California would buy a club in Huddersfield.
Okay, it seems to be that Dean's writing the debt off, isn't it? Or he seems to be writing a lot of what's owed, or what sort of owed to him off. And if the deal's cheap to do for Kevin Nagel, then I suppose if he improves Huddersfield and Huddersfield move up the league, then the value of Huddersfield Town goes up, and he can start selling stakes. And what Americans tend to do quite a lot is to sell percentages and stakes within a club, don't they? And others like to invest, and then that's why there's questions about the stadium and the area around the stadium is so pertinent as well. Is what would they want to do with that? Would they want to invest in the stadium? Would they want to buy the rope walk and etc. and do things, gas club, and all this stuff? There's a lot of Americans love real estate, don't they? McDonald's is famously not a fast food restaurant, but a real estate business, and stuff like that. It's that's not strictly true, by the way. They do fast food, but the real estate is an intriguing part of it. And so I do wonder. There are a lot of questions about what he will do, and I'm with Phil as well. It's like, why would I think Huddersfield's a great club, mate. I think it's got great fans. It's in a good spot. It's got a great history. It's got a lot of potential for me as Huddersfield Town. It could go up to the Premier League with the right owners, and it could sit there for a little bit, just like Crystal Palace have done, Bournemouth have done, and then it can be sold on. But I'm just sort of wondering, you know, why Huddersfield? Why not Preston? Or why not, you know, someone else, you know, Norwich or something? But I suppose when he gets his feet under the desk, we'll get answers to that, which will be quite good. So obviously, with Kevin Nagel being announced, I should say, people are now being linked with roles. And this week, Alan Nixon has linked the ex-Stoke City director of football, Mark Cartwright, with a role at Huddersfield Town. Now, I would personally implore Huddersfield Town to swerve Mark Cartwright. I know Mark Cartwright's over in America, isn't he? He's I think he's the technical director of the USL over there. I would instead look across the M62 to a man working absolute wonders at Bolton Wanderers. Chris Markham was at Huddersfield Town until 2017. He did a lot of work on signing players like Jonathan Hogg, Naki Wells, and more importantly, he was the man who did the scouting work and recommended Town legend Christopher Schindler. Where would we be without him? Where would the podcast be without him? Chris left Huddersfield to join the FA, where he built up some very good links with some of the best coaches in the country, did a lot of analysis work for the England team. From there, he was headhunted by Bolton Wanderers in League Two to be technical director, and he helped build a team to get promoted from League Two. Then they've had year-on-year improvement within League One, and this year, Bolton have just won the Johnston's Paint Trophy today, which is why it's fresh in my head. They're in the top six, looking good for, you know, a playoff slot. He's done it all on a shoestring without much of a budget. He's used his contacts to bring in really good young loanees like Shortire from Man United and Bradley from Liverpool. Some guy called Luke Mbete, who knows where he came from. He's helped pick out some rough diamonds as well, Aaron Morley from Rochdale, and they've really bloomed. And you know, he's become one of the best League One midfielders this season. He's a top man. He's got the eye for players. He's got a very good network, and most importantly, he's a Huddersfield Town man. Go get him signed, Huddersfield Town. That's if he'll take the job. But, you know, for me, never mind Mark Cartwright. There's a man here that you could plug straight in, a man with the contacts, a man who knows the area, the club, etc. It's a no-brainer for me. Go get Chris Markham. Johnny's nodding, so I'll go to you, Johnny.
I was going to say there were three ex-Town players in that starting lineup today for Bolton. If anyone can name them quickly.
Kachunga scored.
Dempsey is a bit of a blast for the past as well. He's had a bit of a round.
His hair a little bit noticed at the front, just slightly.
But yeah, I mean, I must admit, I struggle to comment much really because I don't know either of them too well. That's assuming we don't keep Bromby. So again, we've spoken both positively and negatively. I think quite accurately on Bromby. Again, what role he takes up, whether he is to replace Baldwin. What that kind of setup looks like, it could well change, like you say. But it's important that, because whoever takes up this role is going to be not just kind of looking to kind of come in steadily in a handover capacity and get the feet on the table quietly. The first job's been quite quickly to appoint a manager or a head coach, which is going to be massive. There's going to be quite a large recruitment job, whichever league we're in, which is going to be massive, either a promotion push from League One or looking to not be in this situation next year in the Championship. So the who's and where's probably not best qualified to talk about, but absolutely it's a critical part of the jigsaw going forward. It needs to be someone that's capable of doing that. So I mean, the CV you've read off there kind of looks quite attractive from a Town fan point of view, but it's absolutely crucial those conversations happening now, because we can't be waiting around trying to find a manager, trying to find someone to take up those reins and players, because deals happen now. I mean, not necessarily in July. So yeah, it's absolutely critical.
No one else. No.
It's one of the biggest decisions we'll make for a long time. This, because we've made so many errors, haven't we? And it needs stability. So. Like I say, it needs someone. I'm not bothered about big names. You don't need to be a big name. You don't need to be an ex-player, etc., or whatever. It just needs to be someone who's highly skilled at what they do. And obviously, you mentioned him out there. He's doing a fantastic job in here at Bolton. And that's what we need. We need someone ready-made, someone who's got ideas, their own way, their own philosophy, etc., which suits us as a club.
I'd probably take Everett. I'd probably take Everett as well.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I love the football Bolton player. It'd be fantastic. I'm not sure. I think Ian Everett would be tough to get away from Bolton. Bolton are a good club, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm saying Chris Markham because I know Chris is a Huddersfield fan. So, the lure of going to your home team or hometown team is big.
Spinning round a few times and showing the ground, it looks familiar enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just the corners. Yeah, just the corners. But yeah, it'd be a great double act with that in the Championship, especially with being able to play that kind of football in the Championship. I'd love it. But, fingers crossed that they do make the right decisions. And of course, Lee Bromby's not out of a job either, is he, at the minute? I think everybody is just assuming that it will be the case because he was pushed to the side somewhat, wasn't he, in January, and Baldwin came in and made, the majority of the signings in January, which is unusual when you already have a man in post. So, interesting. So interesting times ahead for sure. And the final topic on the agenda now is that this week DAZN have bid for the rights to the EFL, which could see the end of the Saturday 3 p.m. blackout. So we asked for your inputs on Twitter a couple of days ago, and it stirred a pretty good debate. So I'm at the minute open. I have an open mind, but I'm going to contradict myself by saying I'm also incredibly against this idea at the moment, but I'm happy to have my mind changed going forward. But I'll tell you why I'm against it as well. So football to me is not and never should be just a TV show. Someone has that pinned on their bio, don't they, Pos, on Twitter? What makes football are the fans, the colours, the noise. We all saw how shite football was in the COVID season and how it missed the fans in the ground. And I know TV won't, putting games on at 3:00 won't minimise it to that level, of course. But at the top level as well, they don't need to worry about moving a 3 p.m. blackout because people are naturally attracted to, the big games, Manchester United, Manchester City's, and they won't have any issues with that. But they have to be mindful, or the football authorities have to be mindful further down the pyramid. We've seen over the last few years the negative impact that the midweek red buttons game. Sorry, I said that again. The negative impact that the midweek red button games have on attendances. Just look back to Town versus Norwich the other week. There's about 7,000 people there. Midweek games are really poorly attended across the Championship. I'd love to see the figures, the actual figures of people in the ground, not just the tickets sold. The people that do turn up tend to be season ticket holders as well. I'd be interested to see the walk-ups in particular for midweek. And I've seen people say, yeah, but you can get streams or you can get IPTV, so it won't have any effect. And I understand where they're coming from, but I do completely disagree at the same time. And I disagree because, one, streams are illegal and they can be shut down mid-game. They can buffer, not appear. IPTV is illegal. It's not as widely spread as people think. Pozza doesn't have it, for example, because it's too tight. Your games again.
Law, that is why, mate.
Exactly. A man of principle. Your games again, they can buffer. You need a VPN, you need a Fire Stick or a box. They're not in HD, and again, it's not reliable. I know some people come at me now and say, "Oh, my IPTV is reliable," and good for you. If you introduce a legal stream whereby people can buy it at the start of the season, they'll get pre- and post-match coverage, HD games. They can watch it in their own house and from the pub, and most importantly, have reliability from a single app without the hassle that IPTV brings. Then you've got a problem, because the people in the grounds when it's red button midweek are the season card holders. They're there out of a sense of duty or because they have to watch the games. And if you introduce a service where people can buy it instead of a season card, and people can then take the easy option for the season and not just the midweek games, what you'll get is a massive reduction in season ticket holders, especially for those clubs who aren't up there challenging and who are just in the middle or maybe towards the bottom. With this, you can watch it at home or in the pub. I'm talking about attendances for Huddersfield Town, for Blackpool, etc. There's no walk-up in terms of finances. There's no walk-up. There's no spending at the ground. That may be covered by the TV deal, okay? And I do understand that there are people that live miles away, that they can't, older people sometimes can't make it, and I do understand that, and maybe they could geolock. On a 3 p.m. maybe it could be geolock, so outside of a 50-mile radius or something from the stadium, which is possible. But the knock-on effect for me, further down the pyramid, for those that play football on a Saturday, for those that go watch non-league games, is going to be so detrimental that it will kill the EFL as a spectacle as much, because when you watch it on TV, you love the buzz of the crowd, the hubbub going on, the noise. And if there's nothing there and it's one man and his dog and there's a reduction in attendances, the product becomes less interesting. And people have mentioned the whole ITV digital thing where it went bust. Now, DAZN, I don't think are going bust because they've got the boxing and they've got other things, got strong arms, etc. But for me, it will absolutely kill the in-stadium experience, or it will vastly reduce it. And I'm really against that as someone that goes to these games. We've seen it, haven't we? We've seen an empty stadium and how dull and boring it is. And that's one of the reasons why I don't want to go down to League One with 50 away fans. The away fans themselves, we've seen a big reduction in Huddersfield Town away fans in the last couple of years. We used to be one of the top 7 or 8 followers in the country, in the championship, and now we're sort of back towards the bottom. And it's definitely the result. But this is this season and last season, and for me, definitely illegal streaming has been a huge part of this. And to make it legally streamed when it's not mainstream, there's a lot of stream talk here. Will further reduce that, and I just think it will reduce football as a spectacle and make it a duller affair. So I am against the 3 p.m. blackout. Jonny, you're for it?
Yeah, for is probably a strong word, but I don't see it having quite as detrimental impact as you do, because it's live sport. Now, if we take a quick poll here, given the choice, who would rather be at a ground than think I can sit and watch it on my sofa? I certainly would rather be at the ground. Now, I understand what you said. I do think you'll have certain people, situation-based, geographically based, financially based, who might decide to sit on the sofa and watch it or buy a package rather than go to the ground. But I don't think we'll see attendances drop to £5,000-6,000 on a Saturday afternoon, because people would rather sit on the sofa than be there. I think yesterday's game was an absolute textbook example of why I don't see that happening. There's some times that I can't go to a game and I'll watch it. We'll leave how to one side. But if I'd have been sat on my sofa watching yesterday, I would have been sick not to have been there. For the second goal, the third goal, and the fourth goal, absolutely sick. I'm probably begrudging the reason as to why. So I think you've got to remember that there's a certain drive, there's a certain desire, a certain passion, a cult following that lower clubs. I understand what you're saying about Premier League, and that is different. So we can put that to one side. And to a certain extent, some top championship teams have an equal kind of level following. It's not necessarily got a major impact. But your smaller clubs, your Accringtons, your Shrewsbury, your teams like that, who might get joined 4,000 to 8,000 to 9,000. I still think it's local people supporting the local team. And the local people supporting the local team are going to still go. I don't see many fans that are going to Accrington because, let's be honest, you're not going to watch quality football. You're going because that's your team. It was your dad's team. It was your mum's team and generations previously. I don't see those people choosing to not go to the ground and get that experience. It's like I listen to music, but I'll go see a band live because it's like nothing else. It's not like watching it or listening to it on Spotify. And I think that is where I'm coming from. I completely understand with your side. If that was the way it went, I think it'd be the worst thing ever. But I don't see there being too much of a negative impact. We've seen a very small trial with the National League as well. We've got the lower clubs, and or people who might be weekend followers because their team's away. Their first team's away, they might go as second team. And streaming's been around for I think about 15 to 18 games now, and there's not been a drop off in attendances. Completely different league, small sample size. Hard
I'll say that though. Was it known at the start of the season when it came to people buying season cards? So that's the thing. It's you're giving people the option there, season card or stream, and that's. But
again,
I'd
make the argument that your season cards buyers, they are your cult following, they are your brick following. You're going to have peaks and troughs based on success.
You do get a lot of floaters, don't you? Especially at Huddersfield. You can see the red button differences in the Championship card. You can see what it was like a few years ago to what it's like this season. pre and post COVID, and it's. I know
But
midweek's
I don't know how much
different.
of that is down to quality.
I don't think it's fair to use midweek red button games as an indicator.
Well, I'm using midweek.
There's a lot of.
I'm using midweek pre and post red button.
Well, midweek in general then, because I reckon if we've got 16,000 season ticket holders, a good percentage of those people will not be able to make a midweek game, regardless whether they can watch it on stream or not, working away, childcare commitments, work, etc., etc. I think I get what you're saying. If you look historically across every match ever, midweek attendances will generally be lower now. So I don't think it's fair to use that as an exact reason. I can see your point. Yeah, if it's cold and wet and windy, will you watch it on telly rather than going out and cold to watch it? Maybe. But you cited that Norwich game as an example. How many would have been there if it had been on stream? I bet it would have probably been about the same amount anyway. Because like Jonny says, people go to watch these games for the live
wasn't it? It was the game on Sky, wasn't it?
And things like that. So I think I'm kind of where Jonny is on this. I can see pros and cons to it. I think one of the big things is what would they do with the money? How would that come in?
They're going players' back pockets. You know that. We both know that. Don't
if it does come in, I think the league would have to step in and say what will happen with this extra money. And one of the biggest things for me would be to introduce a price cap on tickets, and that money would subsidise the gate receipts. Because I think, as Jonny quite rightly mentions, if you're gonna go watch live sport, you're gonna go watch it. You're not gonna. I mean, you talk about a season ticket or streaming. I'd probably buy both, because I'd maybe watch a few away games that I wouldn't go to, but I wouldn't decide not to go to Barnsley, for example, so I could watch it on telly. But I might watch it on telly against Watford rather than go to Watford, because there's a massive difference in how much it'll cost to do those two things. So I think if you're gonna go, you're gonna go, and if you're not, if you've got a stream as a backup, then you'll watch other games that you weren't going to go to, so they're getting your money that way. So the financial impact is, you're probably going to fork out twice.
I think it is a key point. Now, I guess it's not the fact that I completely disagree with what Matt's saying. I mean, I have similar concerns. I think it's just whether you can come into some sort of happy medium, like you've said there, Pozzo. And I think it is protecting the extra broadcast revenue, or a certain percentage of it, to actually make football a bit more affordable. I still think it's ludicrous how expensive football is. We don't have the away cap like they do in the Premier League. I think that must be an absolute necessity within lifting the blackout. So there are things of good you can potentially do alongside that. And open it to, like I say, open it to people who are, expats of Huddersfield, but within the UK as well. I think there's potential there to kind of build a slightly bigger following, maybe encourage a few people back towards watching Huddersfield, and might have been turned off it because they live away and they can't access it, they can't see, they can't come, and might potentially come to more games because they revive their interest. There are certain green shoots of positivity around it, but I also have the same reservations that Matt does as well. And I think if it's done, it needs to be done in a very careful way, where these areas of concern are looked at. It's not just purely done financially, commercially, like Phil said at the beginning, and then some good can be done off the back of it, because there will have to be an increase in revenue stream because more games are being shown, the product is wider and service offerings widening, and that can benefit fans as well through the back door. So I think I don't sit firmly and absolutely do it, but I think if we're going to do it, I think let's try and make it as a positive way we can do.
I'll give you some examples. So I know I've got two or three mates who every year when it comes to a season ticket go, I don't know if I'll get a season card this year. I might pick and choose games that I go to. And they invariably end up going, I'll just buy a season ticket. If you put a valid streaming product in front of them, they wouldn't get a season card. I know 100% they would not, if they could watch it every week and then pick and choose. And the problem that it happens then is habit. It's such a strong thing with going to watch football games. Once you get into the habit of going to games, it becomes part of your routine, part of everything. And once you break that routine, it's hard to get people back into the ground as well. So I know there will be a lot of people who would take the easy option of watching at home. And I'm not saying it's not going to be a great option for people who can't make it. There's, like you, Jonny, you live Preston area. Like for you, or for people that live further away, it'd be fantastic for them, especially, midweek games, etc. if they haven't got Sky. But for me, I know quite a few people that just go, I'm going to pick and choose and get the streaming product, and then get out of the habit of going. And that's what worries me, especially if you're not doing well. If you're not doing well, And really the people that turn up at Huddersfield are pretty much 90% season card holders, aren't they? Once they've got it, they're hooked in, and once they haven't got that season card, that's where my worries start to appear. But Phil, you've not set out on this. Let's hear what you've got to say.
They're all valid point. I mean, I was talking before. I wish my kids from the school could listen to this conversation. I'm just teaching about this topic with commercialisation. There's pros and cons for every single aspect. So you look at your spectators, you look at your club, you look at your businesses, media. There's pros and cons for all of it. So I think it's very difficult. Pos had some great points in terms of capping, because if clubs if you're not getting the footfall in your grounds, then what the club's going to do, they're going to start raising the prices of the tickets, which is going to have an effect on your diehard fans who go year in, year out. But going back to what you said, Matt, there, I think it's the fact that it's going to make it, like you've said, really easy for people just to say, I'm not going to go tonight. And I think that's for me, that's the biggest one. And thinking about that again on top of it, it's like the away games. You've highlighted the away games already, but how easy is it now just to say, yeah.
Well, I know someone who got IPTV 12 months ago and they've not been to an away game this season, and they used to do 10 a season.
And absolutely.
Matt, just as a side note, if we were top at league, would that person have gone?
Oh no,
yeah, because it would. Yeah, that was part of my point.
Exactly. So,
how many times are Huddersfield Town top of the league?
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? You're all right if we're challenging for top then, because I've not been to as many away games this season, but it's not because we've been crap. I'll be quite honest.
No, but these people have been challenging top six. This guy would have gone had we been mid-table. That's the point. If we'd have been mid-table, it'd have gone 9 or 10.
I think but
now it's easy.
I think it's like Paul said, like the spectators are going to benefit from this, right? So whether you're going to benefit in the grounds if there's less fans, if that's what we're saying, then maybe not. Top end it's going to stay the same, isn't it? But the spectators are going to benefit because they're going to be able to see more football, right? End of. That's it. But I think it's just going to take a lot. It would take a lot away from that match day experience. But obviously, this company then, are they going to put more money into the clubs? Because if the spectators aren't coming to the grounds, then the clubs are losing out on money. So it's going to have to be funded back in some way from that. So it's kind of like it's a continuous cycle. As long as the club isn't losing out on the money that they would normally get, then I have no issues with it, to be honest.
I mean, there is a really good slant to it as well, because I think for local football clubs, and I think Pos might agree with me on this one, local football clubs really struggle to create new fans. So a Huddersfield or a Bradford or something really struggle to bring in new fans because of football on TV, because it's so easy to watch Barcelona, it's so easy to watch Man United, Man City weekly on Sky and the coverage on Sky. So it's so easy for kids to grow up in these areas and support somebody else because of the access that they have. And this could potentially redress that in some way, whereby all of a sudden you've got more access to, you're from Huddersfield. Now you've got more access to Huddersfield, even if you can't go to a game. So there is that side of things, and it is a more powerful marketing tool as well. You can put more eyes in front of it who can then potentially go to a game. So it's not, I'm not saying everything about it is negative, but my gut tells me less people in time, maybe not initially, but in time, less people will end up in the stadium unless you're top of the league. Like the same.
If I would 100% prefer to watch live football. I cannot stand watching football on TV. I hate it. It's just boring sat at home watching TV. So, but how many fans are in the same boat? Like you say, it's going to be really easy for some of them just to say, I'll just watch it at home. I've got it available there, and it takes away from them.
Everyone's different. We're sort of more hardcore. Is it fair to say we're more hardcore Huddersfield fans? We love going to the games. Pos loves the Cowshed Loyal and stuff, and
it's everything about it. It's before the game, it's during the game, the people that you stood with, you're chatting to. That's the biggest thing about football. And now we're going to start, because we're showing every single sport. You can get whatever you want to watch. Are we kind of diluting it? Is sport going a different way? Do you know what I mean? And that's what.
Maybe we're just a bunch of old bastards and we're not up with the times. It's potentially that, isn't it? I mean, Cosy would be interesting on this topic as well. I think he'd have quite a lot to say. But there's a lot of times where he said he's gone to the pubs in Huddersfield before the game, and there's people wanting to stay in the pub, and not actually go down to the stadium. And again, if you can legally watch it in the pubs at Saturday 3:00, it may improve your footfall in the town centre again, but and the pub life and what have you. But does it make it easy then to go meet your mates and sit and you can have a beer and watch the game rather than not drink and watch it? There's all sorts, isn't there? There's all sorts of different.
Do we know what other? I think I might be wrong. I'm sure I heard on Talk Sport that there's us. I think there's one other country that have this rule across. UEFA governed countries. I think quite a lot of countries. This isn't a situation that you can watch your team via your football team's own TV channel or via whoever does it in that country. So
Germany is popular, isn't it?
Yeah, we are quite rare to have this blackout. So it's the fact that, again, different country, different mindsets, etc. It's not necessarily the same, but it's not like we're breaking ground here. Other European countries who have, okay, maybe not as successful as pyramid as we do, but certainly have a pyramid where second and third division teams are getting in the thousands of attendances. They are still doing that. So we're not too different. So I guess it's how it operates in that country. Is just like say some sort of, I'm not sure what the terminology used there, Matt, but basically geographical blackout within the stadium potentially.
Yeah,
I don't know, but it's not that it's unique, and we're really kind of going against the grain here. That's the blackout itself is very rare and often seemed weird in this country from a European perspective. So I guess that's an interesting take as well.
Yeah, I mean, Germany's very successful, isn't it? But I think the whole experience there, they've got the cheaper tickets, haven't they? They've got the ultras culture, haven't they, as well, Pos? And a lot of it's very different, isn't it, over in Germany to what it is here. I think in the UK or in England especially, it seems like football's expensive and fans tend to sit on their hands and want to be entertained as opposed to going to entertain people with noise and colour, which is what a lot of them do in Germany. Different mindsets, different folks, different strokes, isn't it? It's going to be interesting. I think I would kind of like to trial it, but I just worry that once you open the door, then the flood comes in, if you know what I mean, and you can't close it again. If you do see falling attendances, I do worry that you wouldn't be able to close that door again. But I suppose it's about adapting, really, isn't it? Football clubs are going to have to adapt and do things differently, and a lot of clubs like Huddersfield, I suppose, Accrington will struggle to adapt and do things differently initially, and it's going to be those who think on their feet, and maybe you need some Americanism and American culture and some tailgating barbecues in the car park, etc., to bring a different slant to things. Pos, you'd be up for that, wouldn't you?
Most of the stuff, class.
But maybe is it? I'm not for it. You guys have put a decent case forward of why it is. I'm not sure Phil's for it, but it's gonna be interesting, isn't it? What happens, and definitely ready to listen, but I'm very skeptical. Pos, you feel like you've got something more to say on it, maybe?
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think it's a totally black or white argument. There's obviously with anything like this, it's there's shades of grey in there, and for every pro you can think of a con, and for every con you can think of a pro to go towards, and everyone's individual circumstances will obviously be massively different. I think if they do the 3 p.m. blackout, I think you mentioned the money, if they lift it, the extra money that would come in for a Manchester United or Arsenal or Liverpool will be vastly superior to what might come into an Huddersfield Town, for example. So I think if I understand, it needs to be evenly distributed, doesn't it? The football league, it's going to be split between everybody, which is good, because that could potentially bring a lot more money in to lower league clubs to level that playing field, which I do believe that games that are shown on TV, that's how it should be. It should be, you pay the rights for a league and everybody gets an equal share, regardless of whether your team attracts 50 viewers or 50,000 viewers, because, if not, you'll end up in a situation like I think they have in Spain, where Barcelona and Real Madrid go off and get their own TV deal.
They've changed that now, but that used to be the case.
No one else is interested in watching Osasuna or whoever, so they just run away and get even more money. So I think it would need to be really, if they did do it and govern it, and it would be interesting to see what would happen. I think, we could argue backwards and forwards, and you can,
probably things we've not covered as well.
And convince yourself it's a bad idea as well, because there's so many the only way you can do it is to literally just try it and see what happens.
I mean, fans of different clubs are different as well, aren't they? And they'll have different takes and they'll react differently. Everyone will react differently. It's interesting, isn't it? I just feel like northern towns without much affluence will struggle to do both for sure. So your ticket prices have definitely got to stay cheap. So that's interesting. So been a good pod tonight, guys. Thanks Phil for coming on. Thanks Poz, thanks Jonny. Any other business before we call it an evening?
No, mate, I think that's it. Have a nice Easter, lads. Don't
That's
eat too many.
Yeah. Merry Easter, y'all.
Looking down a dirty old window, down below on Bradley Mills Road, the cars rush around. I'm packing me things and I'll leave the ground. Thursday morning everyone's reading that it's time for a Huddersfield ownership turnaround. I no longer own Huddersfield Town. Americans are with you. Up the town. What may continue? Huddersfield Town America. Huddersfield Town America. Everybody the arts know on Huddersfield Town. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Hey. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. 40 million fucking quid. Plus another 6 against the end of this bastard season. Fucking hell. I've spent a fucking shitload. What's that in dollars, lads? Hey, you lot, hey up. Howdy, yeehaw, yo. Hey, aluminum, faucet, junior high, pee-wee soccer, diapers, spelling the word colour with no U in it. Jesse Marsh, actually no, fuck that, we're not having him.